Being a legislator is not just about how many bills you can get passed, but it's also about protecting your constituents against bad legislation that could impact them. You and your fellow Republicans scored a win a few days ago by stopping some bad legislation. Tell us about that.
House Bill 1084 would have prohibited the use of natural gas in newly constructed home buildings, as well as commercial buildings, including prohibiting space heaters, furnaces, water heaters, interior fireplaces. Even your backyard barbecues would be excluded. It would have increased the cost of heating your home, taken away choice for your family, and very importantly, it would have eliminated an entire industry of family wage jobs. My House Republican colleagues and I each spoke against and voted against the extreme bill in the House Environment and Energy Committee, and we received the backing of trade industry and unions from across the state. Although it did pass from the Environment and Energy Committee, our coalition, including my Republican colleagues and many trade associations and unions, were able to stop that bill from being passed out of the Appropriations Committee. It was a victory for working families in the state of Washington. However, we aren't celebrating just yet because bad bills have a nasty habit of coming back to life. So we're going to be really vigilant and watching to ensure that that bill and other bills don't move forward this session.
There are several other very concerning climate change bills from the governor that have passed their committees and could be coming out for a vote on the House floor very soon. Tell us about those.
House Bill 1050 is one of those bills. It passed from the House floor on Tuesday. It creates further restrictions on refrigerants used in food processing plants, ice rinks, and air conditioning. This is a huge issue that will have a negative impact on my community because we have cold storage and food processing facilities that have a lot of employees. So the impact of refrigerants on the cost of construction, needing specialized training to install highly volatile and expensive equipment is going to be a problem for many in my district. And unfortunately, it passed along party lines and it's going to be heading to the Senate. 1091 is a really big bill. That's a low carbon fuel standard bill. It's a mandate that would increase the cost of gasoline by as much as 57 cents a gallon and diesel by 63 cents a gallon. It creates a really regressive tax system in which big out-of-state corporations are going to benefit at the expense of Washington taxpayers. If this bill and the Democrats propose 18 cents a gallon gas tax both get implemented, people are going to be paying nearly $1 a gallon more at the gas pumps. But there's more. I mean, House Bill 1075 would mandate that all vehicles involved with on-demand rideshare transportation services such as Uber and Lyft, many of you may know about, must be electric. This would put a lot of people who operate those vehicles out of business. And then again, there's House Bill 1099. This is another big one because it requires counties to begin planning for vehicle miles traveled, which if enacted would require motorists to pay a tax for every mile they drive in Washington state. And this is going to have a huge impact, not only in our community where there's a lot of rural drivers, but you have to include that privacy invasion issue, which again is going to impact all of Washington state. And I have to talk about House Bill 1287 would force planning for public funding of electric vehicle charging stations across the state, even in new commercial buildings, and would require local governments to adopt all these new building codes for residential commercial buildings to support these electric vehicles. And worse off, that bill also creates a new mapping system for the vehicle miles traveled. These bills will be really expensive to Washington citizens, out-of-state corporations that are going to profit while jeopardizing jobs and increasing the cost of living in Washington. Few or none of them will make much a difference to our environment. They're just going to punish the working families in our community.
What can citizens do about these bills?
So we need Washington citizens to join us and just say no. That means calling, emailing, and writing your legislators, including myself, and those on those committees where those bills are being heard. You can leave a message for any of the legislators at our toll-free legislative hotline, which is 1-800-562-6000. That's 1-800-562-6000. You could also go to ledge.wa.gov and look for the link participating in the process. This will give you more information about remotely testifying and providing input on legislation. And finally, don't forget to check out my website for the latest news and information at representativepeterabbarno.com. Thank you for being involved and allowing me the honor of serving and representing you and the great 20th District.